I'll be presenting my refutation speech in response to my classmate Christian's claim of fact speech on death penalty. At the outset, let me state that there have been decades of argument on the morality, the cost effectiveness, and the deterrence effect of capital punishment. Christians start off with a strong definition of capital punishment, citing the Bureau of Justice as a reference. Your main proposition is clearly stated that capital punishment is not an effective deterrent of crime. Your first supporting claims state that the few murderers who plan their crimes beforehand, like professional executioners, intend and expect to avoid punishment altogether because they are premeditated. To your first claim, my refuting point is that the measure of punishment in a given case must depend on the severity of the crime, the conduct of the criminal, and the defenseless state of the victim. Most state laws categorize premeditation and deliberate murders as first-degree murder and consider the intent to commit crime as sufficient basis for conviction. When you say premeditated and deliberate murders, either totally escape punishment or get a milder sentence, your claim is wrong. The second claim is that the death penalty does not add any significant deterrent effect above the long-term imprisonment. You also cite that Americans pay over $100 million more each year to maintain the death penalty system that is functionally equivalent to death in prison. And over 20 years, the state would save $2 billion if everyone was actually sentenced to death in prison instead of the death penalty. I believe the cost issue does not connect directly to deterrence unless expenses limits the ability of law to deter crime, which in this case do not limit the law. There is no question that the upfront costs of the death penalty are significantly higher than life without parole cases, but if you consider the JFA, Justice for All, estimates that life without parole cases will cost on average $2 million more than death penalty cases. The third claim was more like a counter-argument to your own claim. You claim that the death penalty is a strong deterrent to murder and other violent crimes are wrong. I would like to cite two theorists to refute your anti-capital punishment argument. Ernest Haag and Louis Pullman, who are sociologists, agree that the death penalty is the best deterrent because people, including potential criminals, fear death more than they do any other humane punishment. Haag also believes that if a severe punishment like the death penalty was not used in response to crime, criminals would have gained an advantage by breaking the law, while law-abiding would have placed at a disadvantage by trusting the law. To sum it up, death penalty is an effective deterrent to crime because it meets the ideals of social justice, is more cost-effective than imprisonment, and helps mitigate crime rates. Thank you.
All right, at first you outlined the advocate's claim pretty clearly. I think that you go after individual points with specific counterclaims at the beginning, but sometimes it's not clear how those points actually respond to the point that's being talked about. So for instance, on that beginning point where they lack intent, well, you come back to how the crimes are being punished, what the standards are for the punishment system, and you talk about premeditation and how people who are not, if they aren't premeditated, then they're guiltless. I'm not exactly sure how that addresses the issue here. The advocate is saying that the death penalty can't really deter crime because people who commit these murders do it without expectation that they're going to get caught, or they commit them without the kind of planning that where the death penalty would be a deterrent. And your answer mostly comes down to well, if they're premeditating about this, they're more likely to know that it's going to happen. It's almost a circular argument here. I'm not sure what it gets you. On the deterrent issue, I don't see any counter evidence that suggests that the death penalty deters crime. Just kind of this analysis based on what the punishment level is. On the cost issue, I did hear a piece of information that I thought was pretty effective that suggested that the life imprisonment without the possibility of parole would ultimately cost more per conviction than the death penalty would. And I thought that that was at least an effective piece of information that addresses the issue of cost. So I thought you were in good shape on that one. And then there's this argument about whether or not it's really just. I think maybe both the advocate and you are getting into an area where there's a value issue that's going on here. What is it supposed to accomplish? And Vanderhaag and his counterpart seem to basically suggest that if we deny death as a punishment, we're granting an advantage to the lawbreakers over the law-abiding. And I kind of understand the philosophy behind that, but I'm not sure how it addresses the issue of deterrence or the effectiveness of the death penalty other than from that value position. And I think that your exit lines even explain that from the position of social justice and moral consequences. Those are all value claims rather than issues of fact. There's almost no audience contact while you're speaking, so you need to work on that. You need to talk to us and kind of explain what those arguments are, especially that first argument, which feels to me like it's begs the question a little bit. All right. Mayor